Hi, welcome back. And today we're going to make this lovely little painting. Walking through a fall forest, and it's sort of raining out. So, first thing we have to do is we have to draw it. So take your handy dandy pencil with an eraser on it. Make sure it's sharp on the bottom. And the first thing that we do is this is the center of the page right here. That's going to be sort of our point of where things end. So we're going to make a line diagonal going that way and a line diagonal going the other way. And we're done. You're done. Now, okay, so that just is going to give us our depth in our painting. And then we're going to make the umbrella, because the umbrella, okay, so it's an upside down U, kind of on top of where that ends. And we bring it on the bottom, a circle joining it, not straight across, just a circle joining it, okay? And on the top of the umbrella, we're going to make just a little upside down U, like a button, and then we're going to put a little bit of lines going that way, and now we have our umbrella. Now, as you know, umbrellas don't take themselves anywhere. It's usually carried by someone. So, how do we make a someone? We're going to make a stick figure. So all we're going to do is make a stick figure. Make it very simple. Straight down. And a leg going this way. And a leg going that way. And an arm going up that way to hold the umbrella. See how simple that is? And what we're going to do then is the person has a trench coat on. So we're going to put the trench coat like that. And there we go. And that is how we can make our stick person. We're going to erase the middle part because we don't need that anymore because that's underneath. And basically we have a box with two legs hanging out and an arm going that way. And don't worry, we'll take care of all of that later so it looks a little more like a person. But it's that simple. Okay, so now we are going to make trees. Now, as you see here, we have trees going all the way across. Some of those trees you can see a little bit more in the foreground, and some of them are in the back, right? Well, some of those trees that are in the back, your mind is being fooled by just lines. So, to start, we're going to make a tree in the front. There we go. Okay, so just a tree. That's all. Don't worry about any leaves yet. I'm going to make a tree going this way and this way. Now the bottom of trees are never straight across, so we jagged them just a tiny bit as we connect the bottoms. So we have one in the front that's closer to the bottom and one that goes a little bit back. And we make it a little smaller because, well, a tree doesn't look as big when it's further away. And we're going to put another tree just going past the last one, or the first one. And we've got a tree there. We're going to put one more right there. Okay. But it's going to be smaller. We're basically just doing the tree trunks. That's all. Okay. So we're going to do the same to the other side, but I want to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing for the background here. So we're going to put some lines here. Going all the way this way. And see those lines? Well, that's the trees that are in the background. So we have some trees in the foreground that we really see a little bit more about. And then we have trees in the background that are just lines. And we're going to play with them later. On this side, we're going to draw a squiggle line just across like that. And that's going to end up being where we have our trees. And then we're going to do the same to the top, but we're going to go from here down a little bit, because the closer the trees are, the more we see them, but they go away just like the perception of the walkway. Okay, so we're gonna go. We start here, a little squiggly line, and doesn't have to end because we're gonna go all the way across. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go a little higher there. There we go. So it goes like that, and we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. So we're gonna make a nice tree here, tree trunk, and draw a line. Now we have a tree. Then we're going to put another one over here. And then we got that. I'm going to put another one going back a little bit further this way. And we'll put another one going this way. And maybe one going up this way a little tiny bit. And one here. And again, we're going to do the same thing. Put some lines in the middle here, but further up, so that as we see the tree line is going further back. It's kind of following the walkway. And again, we're going to go take our squiggly line, follow this, take the squiggly line and go off the page that way. And then we're going to follow the bottom of the page. And there we go. And there we have our little forest scene with an umbrella and a person walking. How simple was that to draw? Now, there's one thing I did leave off, and I'm going to do that now, and that is a lamppost. And so how do we do that? So we're going to put it right, I guess around, we want it to end like right around here-ish. So we're going to start here. We're going to go up straight. And we're going to go right next to it, make another line. Go up straight. Now, I'm going to take out whatever was in the way there. So now it's empty in the middle. Okay. And then we're going to make a little bit of a shape that kind of goes, maybe it's kind of a weird Y. I like using letters to explain things. And then we're going to make a straight line going up and a straight line going up. Attach them at the top. Then we're going to make a upside down V and an upside down V. And we have a little lamp. Now let's see. Since I wasn't looking at it while I was doing it, I was showing it to you guys. I want it to look a little bit nicer. There we go. Okay. So it should look like that. In fact, I think I want this to be a little bit more like that. There you go. A real upside down V. There we go. Kind of like a clown hat on top. There you go. And this one here on the bottom we want rounded. Because unlike trees, they are rounded on the bottom. Okay. And so that is our skeleton of our painting. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to start our coloring in. So I love my umbrella to be red. It's just, I like a red umbrella. For this picture, it just seems like he's wearing a red umbrella. Doesn't it seem that way to you? And again, I always start with my lines, because that kind of is where I always think the shadows are. They're in the lines. There we go. And now we're going to make it a little bit more, watery to color it in the rest of the way. And now we have a red umbrella that has a little perception to it, a little depth to it, and shadows and that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is going to take our green and we are going to make the grass. Last I looked, grass is usually green, and we're going to use a lot of water to give it a good wash. We want that washed look because that's what watercolor is. It's a very transparent medium. And we have it a little darker in the back. And we need a little more water and a little more color. So there we go. And we're just setting the stage for our background that we can make shadows on later. Okay. So there we go, and there's our grass. We'll do the other side, the same exact thing. And I think we need a little more on our brush. There we go. A little water there. It's one thing, if you find that it's too dark, when you put it onto your paper, you can always dip your paintbrush into the water and you can just spread it out a little bit more, because I had put, and I'll show you what I mean. So I had put, and I had made it a little too dark. So now I'm just dipping into water, just regular water, and now I'm spreading it out so that it's not as dark as all that, because I didn't want it to be that dark. And there's some here. I'm going to grab some that way. And there you go. And that's how you do it. So there's always a way to fix things. It's only paint. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do here is we want to do our trees. And our trees have brown bark. You can do different color trees. This picture would also look very pretty with a like a birch tree or an aspen, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to make a simple little tree with brown bark. And we're going to color each of these trees in just the trees, not the lines. The lines, I'm going to show you a trick about that later. And just make sure it's nice and watery, nice and wet, but not too dark. I don't want it too dark. Okay, there we go. And color some more. Not too wet though, because you don't want it runny. And some parts of the tree should be a little darker, like one side. And as you see, it's not all one color, it's not flat. Some of it's a little darker and some of it's a little lighter. And if you notice, I only colored in the 4 trees. I didn't touch any of the background trees. Only the ones that we actually made to look as trees. So we're going to color in now the other side. There we go. You want it wet, but not too wet, right? You want it to be able to flow on the page, but you definitely don't want it too wet. It just runs. It could run into another color, and that is the hazard of watercolors. That's the thing that makes people afraid of watercolors. But if you just know, it's a very simple technique. If you just remember that it's all about how much water you have. It's watercolors. It's that simple. So now I'm going to take a little bit to shadow. I'm going to put a little bit of a darker brown. And how do we make darker brown? Just less water, right? Take a little bit of a darker brown and put it to one side. And oh, there we go. And so now we did this side. And you see we have different colors. It's not flat. Okay, so I told you I was going to tell you how to do the backgrounds. So with the background, we're going to use gray. How do we make gray? If you don't have gray, you put black and you make it very, very watery so that it becomes, if it's watery, it should have that color. So the more water you put in. And that's the color we're going for. And you're going to, actually, I think we need it a little bit darker than that because it's not showing up. Let's see, let me make sure. Okay, so we do want it a little darker, just a little darker. And what we do is we color in just a line there and a line here, just a line every so often, and another one there, and another one there, we'll get one back here. There you go, we'll color in that whole spot. And maybe one there. And that's it. And then, there we go. And then we're going to go back to the brown. And we're going to fill in with different shades of brown in the background. You want it mostly dark though, because it's in the background, so backgrounds are darker. You see? And we've got, here we go. And some. And now if you can see, we have our trees in the background. We've put them in with smoke and mirrors. And we do just make sure all the white is covered with either the brown or the black lines. And we're all good. And now we do the same to the other side. So this time, since I already have my brown out, I'm going to put the brown in first. Okay, and now I'll get some of that. I actually did go into my black instead of my gray, because I did want it a little bit. But you don't want it black, you just want it smoky. You want the smoky look. Ultimately, it is going to look gray. And again, a little bit of brown, a little bit of gray, and we've got woods in the background. Just with making some lines with brown and gray. How is that? How about that? There you go. And color in any spots that you see are empty, but it should look pretty much like that. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is, while we have our black around, and we're using it, we do want to fill in our light post. And that should be a darker black. There we go. And if it looks like it's blending into the forest, don't worry. As you know, later on, we are going to use our Sharpie. There we go. So, that's our light post. And we are now going to take a nice yellow and turn on the light. Oh, maybe that wasn't such a great yellow. There we go. That's a good yellow. It just wasn't wet enough. There we go. There we got a nice. And now the street lights are on. So now we're going to go with our sky, and going to make a nice sky blue. Let's see. I think I want to make it a little bit of a darker blue. Normally go with a light blue. Normally I go with this color blue. I'm going to go with this color blue right here, because it's kind of a rainy night. And so we're going to get it so that it's just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to go back in to it. And while it's still wet, now if you see, it's wet. And while it's wet, I'm going to go over the top a little bit more. I'm going to dry my paintbrush and go over it again, just like that. You see how we made it a nice dark sky? So, okay. So now that we have our sky in, there's only a few more things we have to do. So we're going to make this walkway is kind of going to be a little bit of a reddish, maybe it was cobblestone or bricks. And so we're going to go into, let's start with the pink. Now, if you don't have pink, again, you can use red. You can use red and you can just water it down. So I'm going to go all the way down. I'm doing a very light brush onto the canvas, just lightly onto the canvas. We're going to put a bunch of colors on here, and we want it to be transparent and not muddy. So when I say light, I mean light, and it's transparent, okay? We never put too much paint on. Watercolor is exactly that, watercolor. Okay, so the next color we're going to use is a little bit of orange. Just a teeny bit of orange. And make sure I get the right, there we go. And again, we want it to be transparent. We don't want it to be too dark. Just enough. So we get it. There you go. Look at that. So there we have it. It's nice and transparent there. And now we're going to use that was my 1-inch flat. This is my 1-inch round. So we're going to use that. And I'm going to get a little bit more darker orange and just kind of make some lines going down so they're a little more pronounced. There we go. See how we got that a little bit more pronounced there? There we go. It's a little more pronounced. Like this ground has been walked on a bit. And we're going to get some red. So a little bit of red. And we're going to do the same thing. Just a little more pronounced. Going up, keeping in mind that we are keeping the lines where we were. So for example, this line is this way, so this line also, the lines have to go in at the same way that the roadway goes. And I'm going to smudge them in a little bit with water. You go right on top of what you just did. I'm going to smudge it in a little tiny bit with some water. There you go. And that's so it has that look of a walkway that has been walked on, but it's not an opaque look, and that's really what we're going for. Okay, and just some white spots that I missed, I'm going over with some orangey red background. Oh, that's a little too orangey red. So we go back in, and there we go. Perfect. And I like to put a little bit of yellow also in the foreground of the, there we go, of the walkway. Just a little bit of yellow. Just kind of brings it out a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. And just underneath where the guy or girl is walking. There you go. So, and one thing I did notice is, there we go, all the way up by the young person or old person, we do want to get it a little bit more dark, because there we go, the further away things are, there we go, further away things are, the darker they seem. So there's that. So now we want to take the man's outfit or the lady's outfit. We're going to make it a black trench coat. Maybe they're a spy. Okay, I'm getting carried away. Okay, so a little too wet there. I don't want it to drip into my walkway. There we go. Get rid of some of that water. I don't know if you see what I'm doing, but I'm actually using the brush to get rid of some of the water. There we go. And now I want that trench coat to be darker than it is. So that is like a gray trench coat. We want that to be a darker trench coat. And so I was getting some of the water because it was actually, it was going to spill into the walkway, and we don't want that. We can fix it. It's only paint, but you don't have to fix it. Isn't that nicer? Isn't it so much nicer to not have to fix it? Okay. And we're going to, the legs that we had there, we're going to put pants on that person. And now we have, here we go, make these legs a little longer. There we go. And now we have this person walking through the walkway with their umbrella. Now,